I am turbocharging the Beam 3S GE in my AE86 drift car. In my other videos, I've gone over the turbo manifold, the oil drain, the oil feed line, and the turbocharger I chose. So in this video, we're gonna be going through more of the intake side of things. The intercooler, the charge piping, or intercooler piping, the intake filter, all that stuff, as well as some of the electronic control side of things, like a 3-port boost solenoid. All of the couplers that you're gonna see today in this video are from HPS. I've been using HPS on a number of builds for years, especially for AE86s. They make some absolutely phenomenal radiator hoses for AE86s, and today I'm gonna be using, well, their intercooler couplers for everything on the turbocharging system and the intake side of things here. I gotta give a huge shout out to HPS for hooking me up with a good deal on all these couplers. Honestly, guys, they are some of the most fantastic couplers and fantastic hoses and things like that I've ever used. They're really high quality, they're really strong, so you don't have issues with them getting either sucked in under suction or expanding too much under boost pressure. These are really great stuff. All right, let's go ahead and look at the car and I'll show you kind of where we're at with things. This is a 3 1/4 to 2.5 inch coupler over here on the throttle body. I think technically the throttle body is even a little bit smaller than 3 1/4, but it's larger than 3 inch. That is the best thing I could do. I've gone with 2.5 inch intercooler piping just because it's what I had and it works pretty well. This intercooler is pretty much the largest one that you can fit in the front end of an AE86. And it's even a little bit too big in a couple of spots. Like, I wish it was just a couple inches narrower so I could fit it between the headlight motors and back up against the radiator. It's just not possible to do that. I might pull the headlight motors or something. But probably I think what I'll do is I'll just build a bit of a ducting thing that actually bolts onto the radiator where these mounts go, and it'll kind of go all the way back to the radiator. That way you can make sure you got good airflow from the cooling fans through the radiator and the intercooler. For the intercooler mounts, I've made these little brackets that I put underneath here. I've replaced the normal radiator, lower radiator bar with this, as well as some, custom made tension rod brackets and stuff like that. Still in the factory location, but this should make the front end a whole lot stronger. And on top of that, it makes it pretty nice to be able to mount and weld some intercooler brackets to it. Over here on this side, I've got a 2 inch to 2.5 inch adapter coupler or reducer, whatever you want to call it, for the other side of the charge piping. This is coming out of the turbocharger, and I want to route it down through here, same on the other side. That's a pretty typical thing, is to have it route through this corner. I'm going to have to drill some holes down in there. That way I can have it route actually through that wheel tub. It's going to come down here, and then it's going to go out there and wrap around to the intercooler there. This is a Garrett G3660, the previous generation. I got a really good deal on it. A basic turbo blanket, and then this is a titanium pipe I have for the intake. I don't know if I'm gonna be able to keep that or not. I really would like to, because I like the way that the titanium pipe resonates with an intake, and it sounds really cool. But I'm gonna have to adjust things for the actual air filter once I get the intercooler piping in and done. I've already trimmed a bunch of the couplers, so it should be pretty ready to go together. Now we're just measuring where those holes are gonna be, and I gotta do some cutting and stuff like that to make sure that everything is gonna go where I need it to go, and it's gonna be just routing the hoses and the intercooler pipes through the chassis. My car used to be supercharged, so I had some of the pipes already pretty well made, but the intercooler I was using with that was a little bit different. I'm gonna be able to reuse this whole elbow here, and it has a intake air temp sensor in it. I've already kind of mapped out where I want it to go, and if you look real close down in here, you'll see I've marked out a circle right here, and try to mark where the center of that is so I can go ahead and drill a hole to be able to run the piping from here and over through that. And there is our hole. Some of you are probably going, wow, Devin, that is huge compared to the intercooler piping. Why did you cut it so big? Well, I know from experience that it's better to have a little bit larger of a hole for the intercooler piping to move around, as well as to just give you some freedom of how you want to place your pipe in there. There's probably way better ways to have a super precision fit, but I wanted to have mine just a little bit of give there. That way, in case I decide to change intercooler piping in the future, say go from 2.5 to 3 inch or something along those lines, I have the room to do it. We'll have to do the same thing on the other side. There's a bunch of wires there, and I think first, before I do that, I want to get everything wrapped up on this side and connected to the intercooler. So that's cool. We've got the piping coming through there, but we've got something in the way here. I've already marked it out in here. I'm gonna trim out this whole thing. I know some people would probably drill another hole through it. I don't wanna do that. I actually wanna cut out this whole corner because it's not serving any purpose for me having this extra sheet metal here. And when this car is pretty much a designated drift car, I don't need to have any extra metal there. I'm not worried about having factory level stuff there available for me to use, so I can go ahead and trim that away. The markings I have on the front side follow the welds for the wheel liner, wheel arch here. So that's gonna stay there, and I'm just gonna be trimming around it. After drilling the holes on both sides, I went ahead and started cutting out the intercooler piping I had to make something work. This is a combination of the intercooler piping that I had from the supercharger setup, plus some supplies I had left over. And you can see it's fit through the hole now. Still needs a little bit of adjusting here, but everything is a real tight fit. This is a special high temp tape that also leaves zero residue. It's very common in the 3D printing and fabrication world. So you can see I am very close to having that fit up. Just got to do a little bit more trimming for this side. And the other side is already ready to weld up. So let's go ahead and take a look at what's going to be going here. I did the same thing to mock these pieces up as I did the other side with the tape. And then I got everything marked, kind of positioned here. This is 1A, 2A, so that way I've got each of these sections marked off, and then I've got the alignment. So that way I know, okay, this goes here. Now I'm gonna look for 3A. 3A is gonna be this guy, and that's gonna go there, right? And then on this side of this piece, I see, okay, here is 1A, and there's 1A marked. So I know how this is all gonna fit together, how it kind of clocks and orients together, and it's ready to weld. And my aluminum welds aren't the best. Some are better than others, so this is good practice for me. TIG welding aluminum is a whole different animal because you have to clean the material exceptionally well with a stainless steel brush devoted specifically to aluminum, as well as with acetone or mineral spirits or some other type of or denatured alcohol, something that's going to clean it very, very well of any kind of contaminant. And the stainless steel brush is to break up the surface oxidation that you just naturally get on aluminum. That's looking pretty good, all tacked up, so now let's go test fit it on the car. This fitment looks really good. So now we can go ahead and weld them up completely. Oh, that makes me so happy.
After several hours of welding and test fitting, the intercooler pipes are finished. The fit up is about as perfect as I'll ever be able to make them. Complete with the HPS couplers, this turned out really nice. The intercooler fit up is great as well. The pipes clear everything perfectly, fit through the holes I cut in the tubes, and ever so slightly touches the air filter. I don't think I even need to add brackets to the pipes because of how well they're held on, but time will tell on that.
I also added some weather stripping around each of the holes for the intercooler piping to pass through. That way it prevents any vibration and noise. So now the last thing to look at is going to be a 3-port boost solenoid. I decided to mount mine right here on the side of the intake and right here on the factory water neck here. It's got 2 wires. One wire goes to 12 volts and the other wire goes to your standalone ECU where it grounds it, and that's going to pulse width modulate. And then the way that we configure it is here in the outputs menu, and then over here on the other output side, down there, wastegate 1 duty, that's the name of the output that you configure it to. You can change it right there. And then we got to select PWM enabled, so pulse width modulated and frequency at 25 Hertz. There, that is wired in and set up, so it's actually grounded through the ECU. In the Adaptronic ECU, I've configured this Mod 0 aux 2 to 3-port boost solenoid. So that's what we're going to use for the turbo controls here. I have it plumbed with right here from the turbo outlets. That should be boost pressure and a T. That T actually runs to this guy here, the lower portion of the wastegate, and then on the other side, I have the upper portion of the external wastegate plumbed over here to the 3-port boost solenoid. The benefit of a 3-port boost solenoid is that it allows you to run a lower wastegate spring value, but you can essentially double that using a 3-port boost solenoid if you've done it correctly. So the way I have mine plumbed should allow me to make 10 PSI on a 5 PSI wastegate spring. This also means that if something happens with the 3-port boost solenoid and it fails, it's just going to default to that lower 5 PSI. The spring I installed, I think, is a 5 PSI spring, but I also saw conflicting documentation from the manufacturer that it might be 6.5 PSI. I'm not really sure. Either way, I'm pretty excited. This should allow me to hit higher boost pressures using a lower spring, and essentially what happens is the ECU will use this to interrupt the flow of air going to the external wastegate, and that way it actually limits it and gives a little bit of assist, right? So that way it can pump up the boost pressure. Another thing that I didn't really talk about is I have this cheap oil catch can over here. This one is just a generic one from Amazon. I don't really like these, but because I'm in a time crunch, that's what I have, and I will hopefully go back later and add a much better one, but that's what we're using for now. And now the car is ready to be tuned. So make sure to like, comment, subscribe, share, all that stuff, and watch out for my next video on this setup because that will be the dyno day and it's coming up soon. Thanks for watching and see you next time.